Yo, man, looking at this image, this is disturbing. This image says that neuroscientists warn that Gen Z is the first generation to have lower IQ scores than their parents, and they're blaming heavy reliance on technology and all of that as the issue. And I guess experts are calling this a social emergency. Gen Z, again, according to neuroscientists, has is the first generation to have a lower IQ score than their parents, and they're blaming technology. Technology is an amazing tool. Artificial intelligence is an amazing tool. All of these things at our disposal are amazing. They should enhance what we do. They shouldn't replace who we are. See, if we become so reliant on things that are exogenous, then our body all of a sudden starts to atrophy. We start to lose the capacity to do the things that we were designed to do. It's fascinating. This morning, I was actually telling my kids a story about my senior year in high school, how I played football, and I had an issue. So throughout high school, once you started, and this is my high school back in the 90s, but once you started playing varsity football, everybody had to get their ankles taped, right? The coaches just required you to get your ankles taped. So we all started getting our ankles taped, before practices and games, etc., because that's just what we did. But up until that point, I had never gotten my ankles taped. But starting my sophomore year in high school, I was getting my ankles taped, and I did so for every practice and every football game. My senior year, we were playing a team, and I watched film on them and all of that. And I was like, man, I'm about to go off. I'm going to rush for like 200 yards against this team. And I always felt that having my ankles taped felt restrictive, because as soon as you got them done, it almost felt like you had a cast on your ankles until everything kind of loosened up, right? So in my juvenile mind, I was like, I'm not going to get my ankles taped, right, for this game because I'm about to go off. I didn't get my ankles taped. Third play of the game, massive ankle sprain, right? And I was telling my kids what happens when your body is used to having some type of outside support, some type of exogenous support. Your body no longer feels the need to support itself. So technology can be this exogenous support. And if we rely on technology for everything and we lose our capacity to creatively think, to problem solve, to look at things through a different lens, to be innovative, if we lose our ability to do that because we've pawned it off to this exogenous or outside source, i.e. technology, then we start to atrophy, and then our brains and our bodies are no longer used to being creative, to being intellectual, to solving problems. We just pawn it off to technology to solve it. And this is a potential problem with the generation that's coming of age now. It's like everything's at their fingertips, which is awesome. It's all the resources are at their disposal. That's awesome. But that's an exogenous source of support, which then makes your body or your brain or your mind feel like it doesn't have to solve the problem because all it has to do is give it to AI or artificial intelligence. And so this is a line that we're having to walk here. This is a challenge that we're having to face. It's like, yes, it's good to have, but there's probably a diminishing margin of return for its use at some point. Now, I'm not going to be one that says you should never use technology and, oh, it's the phones, we got to get rid of AI. And no, I think we need to use it, but I believe we need to use it in its proper form. We need to use it and put it in its proper place. We need to never forget that these things are tools. These things are tools. The tools should never supersede the artisan. The tools should never supersede the mechanic. The tools should never supersede the creator. And we are creators in how we operate. So we should never pawn everything off the technology. We should use it, we should learn it, and we should figure out ways to intellectually grow from the access that we have. But let's not miss the fact that if we rely completely on exogenous entities, our endogenous, or the sources or the things that come from inside of us, start to become less dominant. They become less impactful. They become less strong. And that's not what we want. Take the example I just used with my ankles getting taped, right? Because my body was no longer used to supporting itself without having ankles being taped, my ankles got weak. And then the moment that I didn't have my ankles taped, I tore my ankle up, right? And then for years after that, every time I played basketball, if I didn't have some ankle braces on or whatever, I would probably twist my ankle. It was because I had to, my body was no longer used to supporting itself without outside support. So outside support is cool, but remember, it's outside support. It should not turn into the main thing. And yeah, so this whole notion, the neuroscientists saying Gen Z's IQ scores are the first generation to have a lower IQ score than their parents. Yeah, it's something to pay attention to. Okay, something to pay attention to. What are your thoughts on this? How are you approaching it in your household? How are you infusing technology and encouraging your kids to use technology, but also encouraging them to still be creative and problem solve and critically think about stuff? How are you incorporating this so that we don't go down this rabbit hole? Because you know, when them snowballs start, they start. So what are your thoughts? It's your man, Mike D, Coach Mike D. Hope you can go out and do everything necessary to become the quarterback of your mindset. And in the meantime, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.